What's your take on this?
On, sorry, I missed the take.
On Sam Bankman-Fried having to testify. I mean, this was something that his lawyers didn't want to do, right?
Yeah, well, I think the lawyers didn't want to do it, but I think all along we've thought that Sam Bankman-Fried was going to take the stand. He's somebody who's been talking essentially nonstop ever since the collapse of FTX, and it has, of course, been very much interested in making his own defense. So in that sense, I think it's unsurprising. Definitely an unconventional legal strategy.
Sonali, where will this take us? What is he going to say?
Well, we know that he's been saying a lot about how he didn't knowingly commit fraud. A lot of this is not only about intent, but also his lawyers, at least, have been making the case that this was a matter of poor risk management rather than knowingly defrauding investors. They've been making the point over and over here that these loans taken between FTX and Alameda were were very standard course of business, and anyone could take a margin loan as a customer from FTX, just Alameda had the most of them. Now, he had one friend after another that has known him from high school or his MIT days, and the inner workings of FTX say otherwise, that he knew that there was more wrong with FTX and its own finances, let alone Alameda's. So his own defense looks pretty critical here in terms of how he defends himself on the basis of what his lawyer was saying his defense would be.
Based on those that have testified against him, is it going to matter what he says? And that, like, he can say all he wants, like, oh, I didn't know, I tried to do this, I thought I was doing that. But is the evidence stacked up so far against him from those who have worked with him that it sort of changes how that's taken?
Can he convince a jury?
You know, it's a jury trial, and I think in white-collar cases, it's hard to get convictions because you can sometimes have these like very complicated cases. Sam Bankman-Fried has been very effective in the past at sort of, talking his way through problems. Of course, he sort of talked his way into this position, into the, becoming the richest person under 30. And I think his gamble here is that he can kind of convince the jury. And in some sense, there's the legal case, and then there's the vibe with Sam Bankman-Fried. That said, what we've heard, as Sonali is saying, from the friends has been damning. It has not set up this trial or this testimony from Bankman-Fried in a way that's super advantageous to the defense.
Sonali, an acquittal would be amazing. So let's park that to one side for the moment. What's a win for Sam Bankman-Fried here at this stage?
Well, there's such a wide range of outcomes, isn't there? I mean, at the very worst of it, he will be facing life in prison. And so at the very best, he gets off home free or has a lesser penalty here. Remember, his friends, 3 of them had pled guilty to reduced sentences. And so how does he prove that he is not guilty when 3 of his friends have already pled? I think that's a massive question here. But, to the point that Max was making, think about how many people he has won over. And the Michael Lewis book, for example, is one good example of this. The fact that Michael Lewis went on 60 Minutes and said this was not a Ponzi scheme and this was a real business, it drew so much pushback by the people who had lost a lot of money from FTX and this entire debacle over the last couple of years. But he has been very effective in winning people over.
We also have to remember here that there is a potential second trial on the political campaign contribution case, as well as the alleged bribery of Chinese officials. So even if he is acquitted here, he's still looking at very serious federal charges with serious prison time.
So with that in mind, do you feel, Max, that the trial is going as such that we can differentiate what is happening here with Sam Bankman-Fried with the rest of the crypto space?
I
not
think
yet.
If you talk to the people in the crypto industry, they will say absolutely, right? You talk to a lot of crypto boosters have been, from the beginning, very eager to distance themselves from this company and this person. On the other hand, I think in the minds of normal people, of normal investors, it all kind of ties together. Sam Bankman-Fried spent years presenting himself essentially as the friendly, regulated, nice guy face of the crypto industry, and watching him, in a federal courthouse facing, as Sonali says, life in prison, that's going to have an impact. And, we've seen, far declining interest in Bitcoin, in crypto, in terms of the volumes, right? They're way lower than they've been in years, although there's been a little bit of a spike lately, as the price has gone up over the last day or two.
There's also something else happening, and that is the New York Attorney General's suit against Genesis and DCG. That is something people are watching very, very closely here, alleged $1.1 billion crypto fraud. And this is another company like FTX. Genesis is also going through its bankruptcy process. And so in addition to regulators going after more crypto firms and very concerned about how clients have been treated, you also have people who just want their money back.
Just very briefly, when could we expect him on the stand? When
Could be as early as tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.